Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Knowledge the Seventh Seed, also known as the Apostle Sheba. Today we're going to be talking about a poem that I wrote called A Deliverance from Bondage. But before I go into that, I want to start off quoting a few scriptures, and then I'll go into the poem that I wrote. Alright, and I'm going to be reading off my phone because I wasn't feeling it today to write all these scriptures down. So I'm going to read it on my phone. I'm going to start off in Matthew 19:26. And Jesus talked about how things are impossible with man, but they are always possible with God, or the Most High. Everything's possible with God, but not with man. As I go down to Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." And the last but not least is from Ephesians chapter 3, verses 20 through 23. And it says, "Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us, to him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen." And again, that's just a summary of that. All things are possible with the Most High. And now I'm going to go into the poem that I wrote. So just bear with me here. And again, the title of the poem is Deliverance from Bondage. And it starts off as follows. "Often, the road to victory is not easy, but it is still worth it. There will be something to rejoice about in the end if we depend on God to help us through. We quickly forget the important victories that have brought us to our present state of freedom. We also may tend to fall back into reacting to crisis as we did in the past before we began to seek God. God provided a way for the Israelites to escape through the Red Sea, and after a few days the Israelites were still unwilling or unable to exercise faith in God. And to conclude, there are times we doubt the power of God, but God always comes through with an immediate, abundant provision for our needs. Amen."
First question I have is, when it comes to faith or trust, how does that apply to an atheist or anybody that don't believe in God?
To an atheist or a person that don't believe in God, I would start off with Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon was a military leader. He was considered, if I'm not mistaken, the first emperor of France. He was a great strategist, and everything he did was based on his intuition. Intuition is basically a voice that comes from within you. Some may perceive it as a thought in your mind. Some perceive it as a gut feeling. Socrates was one of the greatest philosophers of all time, and he went by what he called daemon. For those of you who don't know what daemon is a Greek term for God or gods or deity, and unfortunately a lot of people don't understand that's where the word demon comes from, daemon. But anyway, that's what he called his intuition, and everything that he did was based on a voice that he heard that came from within. Same thing with Plato, Pythagoras, Leonardo da Vinci. All his inventions, he relied on that small still voice that came from within. Now, for an example, if a person doesn't believe in God, fine. I can give an example. When I was a kid, I hung around people who were into bad things. They were into stealing cars. I've been to parties where there were shootouts. And at that party, I can feel, before the event took place, that something just didn't feel right. Just was a negative feeling. That could be an intuition. Doesn't have to be auditory all the time. It could just be a feeling. There were times someone may have asked me to steal a car with them, but my gut, I can feel it in my gut. I can feel that voice inside of me telling me not to do it, even though it wasn't verbal, it wasn't auditory, but that voice inside of me was telling me, don't go, otherwise you're gonna have to pay the consequences. So for an atheist or agnostic that says, well, I don't have faith in God, or I don't believe in God, well, whether you believe in God or not, when it comes to direction in your life, everything is based on that voice. It's that intuition. Again, some may perceive it by the intellect or thought in your mind, however you want to word it. And so, if I'm sitting still, I can feel it in my heart where it's like, well, that thought could come to my mind. Okay, I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to become this. How do we know what we want to become in life without intuition? See, it's that gut that comes from inside of us. So, take an example. One of the greatest philosophers, Buddha. Buddha didn't believe in God, but Buddha understood the power of the mind. He understood thought. He understood that what we call God or what we call spirits communicate by thought or feeling that come from within. So even the atheists may not use the term God, but they understand that there's a force that guides them. It's that force. It's just like you can be somewhere and you just have a negative feeling about something. Just like I gave earlier, if a person tried to convince me to do something that I knew in my heart was bad, I can feel it. I can hear, and it's like a whisper in my ear saying, don't do it. Don't do it. Just like if you're a poet and you say, wow, I got an idea. A light bulb goes off. When that light bulb goes off, you could call it an inspiration. And you feel it. You feel it in your heart. Okay, this is what I need to write. This is what I need to do. So for those who don't believe in God, they're going to call it the force. Some use that term, the force. And it's basically a gut feeling. It's also a feeling. And that feeling can be good. It can be bad. But so that's just that. So that's my advice to an atheist. Because if I'm an atheist, that just means that I don't believe in a deity per se. But whatever I want to accomplish in my life, and as long as I silence my heart, I can feel it in my heart in reference to what I want to do. If I say I want to be a musician, how do I know I want to be a musician? Because I heard a voice in my heart saying, this is what you need to do. Now, I may not refer to that voice as God, but I felt it in my heart that this is what I need to do. You take Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking is one of the greatest physics scientists of all time. In this modern day and age, he doesn't believe in God. But how did he know that it was his calling to be a scientist? Because it's that small, still voice in his heart.
Man.
It's okay. It's a small, still voice in his heart. And that's how he knew that he was called to be a scientist. And another, last but not least, take one of the greatest musicians, Mozart. Mozart, okay? I don't even know what Mozart's belief system were. But it's been said that Mozart was deaf, he couldn't hear. And it's also been said that Mozart couldn't even read music. He couldn't even read music and he was deaf. All right? Can't hear. He's one of the greatest of all times. And it's also been said that Moses was able to see the notes, the music scale, like the scale of how you read on a physical book and you read the notes to play. He saw it in his mind. And everything he saw in his mind, he played. So that concludes this lecture. It's still tuned and what's the word I'm looking for?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Until next time.